Hello farmers, this is Revers, and I thought I would take a few minutes to show you guys how I keep track of my soil mod growth. And it's a pretty neat little spreadsheet that will show you whether you're doing good or bad depending on what you decide to spray. Most of the time when you start out a game, it'll start out, or almost every time, 4, 2, 6.8 and 57. So you can see these numbers changing. I'll explain them in a little bit, but by typing in the green boxes, I can then decide what effect it's going to have. And then over on this side, you can see there's some NAs there. We'll clear those up in a minute. It's going to adjust these numbers and say right now if we didn't do anything, we'd have no nitrogen, no potassium. The pH would go down to 6.6 and the water would go down to 15. But we are going to do some things, as always on the soil mod. You're always spraying. So one of the things I like to do in the very beginning of every map is one of everything, and that's probably a good demonstration place to start. So what I'll typically do is come in here and let's say I'm going to spread lime out before I do my sowing, and then I'm going to, usually when I write it up here, I know I'm going to cultivate it in. And if you look over here, lime increases by pH by 0.8 when cultivated. So I would come in to the pH section over here and put in 0.8 and then hit enter, and through it will then calculate what happens if I add 0.8 to the pH. Just to show you the math, it's pretty simple there. I'm simply taking the 6.8, adding the 0.8 to it that I typed in, and then it comes over to this column and it subtracts out whatever would happen at 12 o'clock that night. So in this case nothing, just because it's not even planted yet. And that works for each of these. So if I click on the nitrogen, you can see it comes over to here, subtracts it out, adds these two numbers together, C4 and D4, and then subtracts that. Pretty easy to set up. If you want to make your own, you kind of do that with each of these columns, and you can see I have a corresponding column over here. So things don't start happening until you go into the initial stage. So the just sown is the same day that you've actually planted it. This could be the same day you planted it too, this pre-sowing. So this is really one day here. And then like I said, normally let's say if you spread dry lime, it doesn't add to your moisture, but we'll kind of assume we did that. And then I'm going to almost always want to put a shot of nitrogen on it, and then you're going to put some kind of herbicide. Well, let's pretend we're going to plant oats. So right down here I have a little note for myself, like which one to plant. So oat, you can either do B or C. I just tend to stick with the first letter just so that I less likely to make a mistake. So now it doesn't do anything here automatically, but we know from looking right over here, nitrogen adds 5 but takes away 2 pH. So I could come up and put in minus 0.2 here and then put in 5 here. Now you can see these numbers are starting to make a little bit of difference. It's giving me a bit of a score. Now this number can't actually ever go below 0, but what that means is you're not going to get any benefit, because mostly at this point, because the 0 is you can't have 0 pK. But we're not quite done, because if you notice we have a herbicide we're spraying too, and that herbicide does a minus 0.2 pH right here. So that does add up. So it becomes 0.4. And then the other thing is we're going to get a moisture. Now moisture, a little bit tricky, because if you spread these two things, you don't end up with 28. You just end up with 14. The only way to get 28, if you need it, like say your moisture's low, is to spray water, and that will actually raise you 28. Now we could spray water this day and it'll go up 28. We could spray water the next day and spray nothing else but water, and it'll go up 28. So you can do a good amount of adjusting. Now if you look over here, you're going to lose 14 each of these growth cycles. So, you know, you'll see if we don't spray any more water, we're going to end up down to 29. So I can predict 4 days from now. You know, again, we're still on the first day of planning with our plans there. So in any event, in looking at it, you know, we're going to definitely need to add some PK. So why don't we do that the next day? And I'll come in here, and again, PK adds, I'm not sure about this 3-3, but I know it adds 3 to the PK. I guess it's the idea is that it's P and K. I don't know. In any event. But it's also going to add water. You know, we won't spread the dry, we'll spray the liquid. And we'll see what that does. So now our numbers are actually getting pretty close. So like, you know, at this point, this is saying we're going to get a 93% bonus because we're very close to our, you know, to where our numbers want to be. This is 7, it's very close to 6.8. This is, but the ideal would be 5, you know, but at the same time it's 1 off, and being a little bit high on your nitrogen, actually being quite a bit high on your nitrogen, doesn't have a huge effect. So like over here, this is where I'm getting these numbers. PK spot on, water spot on. You know, the pH has just a very little effect when you're off by that much, by that little I should say. And then finally we have this, the nitrogen score is coming down 0.95. So in any event, we're not, you know, we can see if we can do better because we're not going, we can't harvest on Sunday where we're at 93. We're down here at 76% bonus. So, you know, I just know from experience, you can work it out for yourself, that if you then spread a NPK, and we have to, don't forget your moisture. And a lot of this, by the way, the game will get it right. So even if you don't do your spreadsheet right the first couple times, you know, it's not the end of the world. So now you can see we put this NPK in, and now our score is up to, for Monday, which, you know, many times you're going to harvest on the first day available, because your bonus here, if you think about it, if you're having a 4-day cycle, if you wait an extra day to pick up 10%, well, you lost a whole nother day's harvest. And that's just not worth it. You know, you'd have to be down below 75% on these numbers, and that just doesn't really happen. I mean, you can usually keep them that close. So in any event, you can see, you know, we've added 1 PK, and we went up to 8 nitrogen. But we still gained 83% versus the 76% that we had. You know, and if we play with these numbers a little bit, you'll notice if I just put a 2 here, which isn't possible when it comes to the game, but I just want to show you how much changing that PK will affect this. So boom, now we're up to 5 PK. I hope you guys can see all this real well. I won't really know until I release the video, but look, it dropped me down to 60. You know, so being just 1 extra on your PK is going to kill your thing. If I take this and make it 0, so now we drop down to 3. You got to highlight the line. You know, now you're down to 63. So I mean, the name of this game when it comes to getting the most bonus out of your you know, out of your crops is to keep that PK close. Now you talk about, well, there's got to be some limit, like I can't just keep spreading NPK, and you're right. I think it's when you get up to about 12, you know, so right now, let's just make this, what do you want it to be? Let's make it 0. Yeah, so see, this would be, you know, the perfect nitrogen, 100% towards the nitrogen on that day. Now we're up to 98%, and the reason we're off a little bit is because of that pH right there. So, you know, but let's just see what happens when I try to take it up. You know, and if I put in, let's see, I want to get it up to 12, so I'm at 5, so let's put in 7. So now if you notice, by going up to 12 on my nitrogen, 12 and 4 here, I'm at 63%. that's the same. So in other words, it's basically the same to be off of your pK by 1 as to have your nitrogen be all the way up as high as 12. I hope that's relatively clear. Again, I can go back to where we were, which was 3 and 1, and we're at 83%. 83% is really not bad, and I don't think there's any way you're going to get a whole lot closer. I mean, you can. A lot of times I don't actually spread the lime that way. So I'll take this lime out of here and I'll just combine it with, I mean, you can do it the first day. So here's another interesting thing. So I want to do the lime. So that means if you look, if you don't cultivate the lime in, you get 0.6. So that means really what I just need to do is add 0.2. And the nice thing about that is we lose 0.2 at the 1 growth stage, so we get right to 6.8. So this is, you know, like everybody makes a big deal out of the soil mod, but there's what you have to do on the first day. You know, it's not overly hard at that point. And then, you know, what I'll usually do is, like, you know, if I'm ending on 8.4, 6.8, 71. You know, and you can see this, I didn't fill this in for this demonstration. You know, and you can see when I was running this map, somehow my water got high. Who knows, maybe it rained or I messed up. But like in this case, I'll just take these numbers from the day that I harvested and I'll put them in here. So 8.4, 6.8, you know, 57. So now it's a little tiny bit different. We got a lot more nitrogen in the soil to start the day. We got our pK right spot on. You know, which is actually a little bit of a problem, because in order to get our pK, you know, just right, we're not going to be able to do it. If I just spread a 3K out, I'm going to end up at 5. That's no good. You know, and then if I do 1, you know, like 3, I'm going to end up with 10 and 4. Oh, so that, you know, like this is telling you, but I'm only going to get, well, I have to do something with my moisture there too. A lot of times I'll spray 3 days, so, you know, we'll just act like you know, we're just playing around with numbers to see how high we can get this. And heck, in some ways, especially if you have 2 monitors, I'll sit here and play with this while I'm spraying one field. I'll be trying to calculate out what I'll do with the next field. You know, obviously, if you're course playing or using GPS, you can get away with doing these things during the game. So, you know, at this point, I could see what the effects are of this. So you're really better off spraying, getting your nitrogen at this point all the way up to 10, than trying to do, you know, some kind of a 5 and, you know, like if I spread, you know, the 3 here, you know, then I spread nitrogen the next day, which gives me 5 nitrogen, you know, I'm down at 54%. So again, it really didn't mean to have a strategy discussion, but hopefully you guys can see where my thinking starts. And this is, and by the way, I usually a lot of times just give it a shot of everything, you know, one of all, because you're really doing that. This, you know, if you watched my video on Ringwood, you'll see that I'm actually going to end up starting like this. So where I at 12 o'clock that day, I lost the moisture for it being over temperature, so I have to get one back, you know. So what I'll generally do then is, like, say, take this nitrogen, and it doesn't matter what, it only matters when you cross the finish line. So like on the night before harvest, you know, there's no sense of oh, you got to spray them all as fast as possible. So because I'm going to move that nitrogen down here to the 4th day, it's going to give me that extra. I'll delete it from up here and put it down there. So there you go. It's basically the same thing, except I've now sprayed a liquid every day, so I get 14, 14, 14. Just so you know, if you didn't want to do it that way, you can come in here, and so if I get rid of everything, nitrogen, Let's just do it this day because I'm running out of room on that line. So if I do water, this is the effect of water. So in other words, because I sprayed water on that day, I get 28 instead of 14, and I get myself right at the 57 that I want to be at. So there you go. Like I said, it's, this is the way every map starts. But again, you have little things like that happen, and you learn to adjust to it slightly. Hey, I'll spray an extra water, or I'll just move my nitrogen, since I don't have any urge to, well, this isn't real anyway, so I guess I can, it's field 22, which I don't own at this point. These are real small down here. I'm kind of doubting in the bottom left the tabs, but if you notice, you probably see that, at least you can probably see that I color code them. So this will be field 16. I mean, this is, if you guys watch, I don't even know if I did it yet in a live video. I mean, I've done it, but I haven't uploaded it yet. I spread canola out. And again, remember I said I was 43. So this was my field conditions when I started the map and then started the plant. So now when I get back in, you guys will see me spray Herb CC. You'll see me, I'm going to wait to the next day and I'm going to spray PK and lime, then NPK, and then nitrogen. So you can see the herb takes off 0.2, the lime gives me 0.6, the NPK, gives me 3 and 1. Each day I'm getting the 14, but then note this too, the nitrogen also takes off 2 pH, so it adds 5, nitrogen adds 5, and then it does a -2 pH there. So then field 17 I plan on planting the next day. As I get more maps, I'll color code these, and that way I kind of know, these tend to get on the same cycle as each other. I don't know that I'm going to plant rye. That's not a forward look at my next video, but I definitely did the canola. That's coming. So we'll go back to field 22, and I'll just try to do this without confusing things too much. The way that this works is I do what they call a VLOOKUP. So if I double click on this, see, it takes the value, this first C4. So if you go to the functions, right here, see this VLOOKUP? It's one of the functions. It looks like category spreadsheet, but you can search for it or whatever, do a VLOOKUP. And the first box is saying take, the value wherever you pick. So I'm going to pick nitrogen I want to work on. And then the next value says sheet 9, row B2 through Q17. So let's see this sheet 9 all the way at the end down here again. Probably can't see it on the video, but you'll just trust me, it's called sheet 9. I have this range of values. So this is the B2 to 19 or whatever it said. And you can see it's highlighted in red. It comes over. Let me close this thing. And then it's going to go look in the C2 for the corresponding value. So if it finds a 4, what the VLOOKUP does is then returns the value in the column that you tell it. So I know that's a little confusing, but if we go back to the other sheet, so see this last one here is the column that you're going to return. And that's, I don't know why they did it that way, but there must be some reason. So if you look, oops, I lost my highlight there. Oh, because oops, what did I do? Let's hit escape, get back out of there, double click again. So VLOOKUP, go back to sheet 9. So this is column 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6. So what I tell it to do is look up that column. We'll go over to, say, the PK. And see, this one's doing E2 to G11. Oops, wrong button. So this one, because I've never, the pH, I'm sorry, the PK, it's really, if it goes above 9, it's just off the chart bad. You know what I mean? You're just not going to get your PK up that high. So it's a little bit smaller. So I'm going to go into here, look up the value that's in in here, which in this case is 4, which gives me a 1. And the 1 being, 100%, 80%. I hope that makes sense, and so forth and so on. So it's just a simple, relatively simple function of, hey, go look for this value in that chart. For that reason, you'll see I always do these certain multiples, by the way, on water. Like just like this is here. I'll show you the chart. Sheet 9. So the moisture, if I don't pick a value, like if I don't pick 43 or 57, 71, because I know the moisture gets a little funny. But if you look, as long as you're 43 or even really anywhere between 29 and 85, the effect isn't that great. So I usually, it's not that I don't care about water, but it's usually pretty easy to get it spot on, unless you have a rainstorm or something. You can usually work it out, fairly close. Even if you have a rain, usually you can get it back down one way or the other, except for in the worst case scenarios. So in any event, you'll see. Let me show. So I have, it's all based on that 14. Like minus 14. So if I came in here and put in like 42, which might be right, you see how I get this minus 17 here, and things just don't calculate properly when you do that. So if I put in 43 and stick to the 14, the numbers come out right. And then finally, what I'm doing to get this score, I guess you can't really see it, but yeah, okay. I'm just taking all of these numbers, subtracting them from 1. So in other words, add them together, subtract them from 1, and multiply it by 100. I know that sounds a little bit complicated, but I'm leaving it up on the screen. Maybe you guys can type it in if nothing else. But what that's basically doing is giving me a percentage. If I add these all together and then subtract them from 1, it will give me the percentage that I need, that I'm going to get. So see, okay, well, I even kind of said that wrong. This, for example, right here is, let's just say we were looking at this one, 0.9. 0.9 minus 1 minus 0.9 is 0.1. So, and then, I'm taking the 0.33 or whatever, or 0.23, 0.04. So when I add up that's what's getting me this percentage, is the fact that I'm taking the difference, 0.1, 0.23 is going to be 0.33 plus should be 0.37. Bang, 63 is 0.37 minus 1. 1 minus 0.37 times 100. Yeah, I'm sorry. I think maybe I should just shut up trying to explain it and take a look at it and prove it to yourself. If you're not very mathematical, then good luck. Just copy what you see on the screen here and you'll get it right eventually. But again, so this is kind of everything you need. I put this in. One day I might try to calculate, maybe I can even do it while I'm doing this video. Try to see how accurate these numbers are. All of this from this sheet 9, this came, see this right here, I got this right from Decker's, I think it was on FS UK. They have like a big long topic about this. So if you see, this was the values that he gave. So at value 1, the percentage was 0.2. So if you come over here, so this is where I got the data that I'm using. He could have changed it by now, though I tend to doubt it. As far as PK, the PK curve. Now he doesn't have values every single place. So for example, here he's got 5, is equal to 100%, like you should be at 5. Well, he doesn't change it until there. So if you look at what I did was, between 5 and 12, or if I'm sorry, he's got 15. I basically figured out that he was taking, or I just assumed he takes a straight line. So if you notice, I'm taking away 0.5 every single time from the percentage, you know, until we get down to that 0.5. So I just assume like a linear, you know, straight line reduction. Is that 100% accurate? I don't know. It's probably pretty close. It certainly gives me enough of an indication of where I'm at. I mean, I do know for a fact that this is what he says, and it's not unreasonable to assume that the straight line is pretty accurate. I think I might have even read that is what he did, you know, in between those numbers that he gives you here. But it's been a while since I made this sheet up. Well, I've probably waffled on about it enough. I don't think, I mean, you'll find that if you try to do it with a grass field, you know, it's really not the same thing. But grass just continually goes through like the same subtraction cycle there. So, you know, I kind of use this once in a while as a bit of a playground for the grass. You know, if you do plant fresh grass, then it goes through initial growth and all that. But normally it kind of goes, and you can see I have that reflected, you know, a little bit here where it's just going right through the cycle over and over. I don't worry about the grass too much. I just sort of eyeball it up. It's not like you're, you know, like when you're doing this field, I'm trying to predict out, you know, 4 days in advance and time things. I guess one other quick thing to mention is normally what I'll do when I, you know, if I spray something, I'll highlight it. I like baby blue, but hey, whatever color. So I know, like, I don't know, 4 days from, I may go on vacation or go down, you know, to the shore for a week or something. And, you know, you come back, you forget where the hell you were at. Well, there you go. Look, I sprayed this. A lot of times you can tell by looking at your fields, but it depends on the map. They don't all have, they don't have a lot of good graphics indicating what you sprayed. Some have better than others. There you go. Anything else I'm missing? I mean, if you have questions about it, but I mean, this is how I make it easy. I mean, it took a, you know, obviously it takes some work to set this up, but a lot of it's just copy and pasting, and all the colors. You know, you don't really need that if you didn't want it, but it does make it look nice. You know, I highlighted yellow and stuff like that. This green lets me know where to type and not type because, you know, that's a calculation there. I want to type in that field. So I know that green, go, you can type in there. Blue, that's just telling me my negative. So, you know, if you notice, you know, regular growth cycle will take 4 nitrogen. There's 1, 2, 3, 4, 2 pH or pK. pH or 2.2 pH and then 3 water. So that's the soil mod in a nutshell, broken down. Takes a lot of the mystery out of it, and even if you did nothing else, it, you know, it gives you a worksheet to kind of work out the numbers, but it also, you know, just helps me remember. I make more mistakes, not because I can't calculate this stuff out, but just I forget, did I spray this or did I, you know, where am I at? And then especially when you got, you know, I only got 4 fields, haven't even planted them yet, but when you start getting 12 fields going on different days and, you know, stuff like that, it can get, I don't know, if you can keep straight all that and live a real life in between your time to play the game, you got a better brain than I do, or at least a better memory. So. All right, well, that'll be it then. I hope you guys enjoyed this. I hope it helps. You know, if nothing else, I hope it helps with your strategy of soil mod. And if you certainly don't need to get this elaborate, and you can get more elaborate. You know, I know there's people that have spreadsheets that calculate out the yields, and maybe if I get bored, like I said, I might try to, because I can go back and look at the videos to make sure I harvested exactly how much quantity, and then I can maybe try to see how accurate this 50% is. Like I said, it's a score. If I get it to 100, it does reflect in the game. And I hope you have a good night. I'll see you back on the farm. Probably going to go, you know, do a little video for where I'm going to finally start getting into some spraying on that canola field 16. And I hope to see you there. Take care. Bye-bye.